I interviewed this girl probably a year ago, and she was about 10 years old. And she had come in because her neighbor had been taking her into the bedroom at his house when she would go over to play with his kids, locking the door and hurting her really badly. And this had been happening repeatedly over a year. So during the interview, when I was talking to her, I asked her how come she didn't tell her mother the first time something had happened. And she just looked at me, I guess plain as day, and said, I didn't know how to say it. I didn't even know what words I would use. So that day at Calico, we helped her find those words. And for the first time in over a year, she finally had a voice in what was happening to her. That girl's story is not the story of what her neighbor did to her. Her story is the story of the courage that she had that day to tell what had happened. And her story is the story of the compassion of all the adults that came together that day to really work on her case and make sure she was safe. And her story is the story of the generosity of the community that supports a place like Calico where all of this amazing work can happen.
Calico is the accredited child advocacy center in Alameda County, and we assist with child abuse investigations and make sure that that process is comfortable and effective for the children, families, and professionals that come to our center. When a child comes to Calico, it's important for us to help a police officer determine whether or not a crime has been committed, but also help a child welfare worker understand whether or not that child is still safe in their home. While there's a lot of overlap between those two investigations, the goal of a child welfare worker is very different than the goal of a police officer, and we're there to help both of them equally.
So what we're able to do at Calico is conduct forensic interviews of children. And basically a forensic interview is a fact-finding interview that's used in court. It's developmentally sensitive, it's age appropriate, and it's legally defensible. And we conduct these interviews in a real child-friendly, comfortable, safe environment, where basically the interview specialist will meet the child where they are in their disclosure process and then move forward from there. So we can really get a clear account of the abuse that has happened to this child, and we get that account from the child in their own words.
About 3/4 of the children that come to our center are 12 years of age or under, and most of them have been hurt by somebody that they knew well and trusted. Prior to having organizations like Calico and child advocacy centers in the country, children would be interviewed in places that really weren't comfortable and really weren't appropriate for talking to children.
At the end of the interview, it's pretty common for me to ask the child, how did it feel telling me about what happened to you? And more often than not, I get a response of, I feel so much better now.
It's a place where young children can come and kind of have a friendly environment. They come in, the younger kids have toys to play with, they have TV to watch, so it's not so intimidating as the police department. So Calico for me is a safe place for kids to go, and it makes it a whole lot easier for the victims and the victim families.
Calico helps so much in terms of saving children. You just have to watch one interview and see it through just to see how it changed one child's life. I mean, it speaks for itself.
It's a special training, a special skill set that individuals have in working with children. And that I have great thanks for Calico Center, for them being here and having this available to people and their families. I don't know what I would have done, what my children would have done if the center wasn't here. For what happened to us, if I had not escaped, my daughter and I would not be here today. It was important for them to get out what happened and have that reported and recorded, and it helped them process themselves.
The majority of the time we have a district attorney that's watching the case with us and a CPS worker that's also involved in the case. There's a family support staff that will meet with the parents and the children to make sure that they get the appropriate services for their follow-up care after.
Learning what I learned from my daughter and what had happened, it was kind of devastating. So I didn't know what to do. Coming to Calico was a lot of help too, because everything is a learning process for me right now since I've been having my kids. And I'm learning a lot from them as they learn from me. So Calico helped a lot too.
While the child is interviewing, the parent has many questions regarding the outcome or concerns and ambivalence regarding their child's case. And oftentimes, parents don't always get those questions answered in a crisis situation. And so having the ability to have a family resource specialist available to that caretaker can make a difference not only to that parent, but to that child's response to the trauma.
Lo mejor que pasó en Calico fue que somos una familia que tuvo una experiencia muy desagradable. Todos los recursos que proporcionan en Calico es mucho soporte emocional, tanto para las víctimas y las familias de las víctimas.
Virtually impossible for one agency to be able to address the full care needs of child victim of sexual abuse. And that's where our collaborative partnership really makes a difference, because we come together and through the seamless web of services, we're able to really look at what the child needs through the whole continuum care of the following disclosure of abuse. The type of abuses that we're addressing nowadays in terms of how abuse is committed didn't exist 5 or 10 years ago. And so as a result, our laws have to change just as rapidly. And Calico provides a format for allowing all of the partner agencies to come together to understand what are the changing laws, what are the changing protocols, that we can expedite services, that we can maybe fill in gaps that may exist because of the changing landscape of child abuse in our county.
Calico kind of brings everyone together. I can see the holding of hands of everyone when Calico enters the situation.
When I'm out in the community and I tell people what I do, oftentimes the initial reaction is it is hard to hear about what I do and how I can continue doing it. But I see a light in every single one of these children's faces when I'm talking to them.
You know, this isn't just a problem for any particular socioeconomic status, for any particular race, for any particular area of the county. This is a problem for all of us. Because if one child is being molested, it's something that we all have to stop.
When you look at statistics, 1 in every 4 women has been sexually assaulted or raped. 1 in every 6 men or boys has been sexually assaulted or raped. These kids are our future, and those are only statistically what we know about.
If Calico didn't exist, I don't know how we would be able to adequately get the child's story out. Calico is just a building. It's the people in this building that make it what it is.
It's a nonprofit organization that we need. It's an absolute necessity for us to be successful.
There are many, many ways that Calico can use community support. We have opportunities for people to volunteer. We look for donations. Every child that comes through Calico can select a book or a blanket or toy or stuffed animal or school supplies. And then we're always out looking for financial contributions, whether that is through our events, through just donations, any way that we can get the resources to make sure that we never have to turn a child away.
Just seeing the difference that you can make in kids' lives and having a child walk through the door in one state of mind and leave relieved and leave knowing they're safe and knowing that there's people there who care and that their words matter, that they were heard. Just to transform someone's life in that instant is a profound thing to be a part of.